Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Changing Gears with your host, Chris here. Today, I'm with Jon Rivera. You guys have seen him on the show before, post fight interviews. This is going to be his third consecutive fight for Combat Zone. November 1st, he's fighting Isaiah Longs in a title matchup. So, welcome to the show. Of
Thanks, brother. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
course, it's good to have you on, not in a arena setting for once.
I know. True, true.
Yeah, so, I just want to start off by asking you about your activity because, as I just said, this is going to be your third consecutive fight for Combat Zone. And when I've talked to you in the past after your fights, you've mentioned how you just want to stay active, keep getting fights. Is that part of your, and I've asked you this question before, but is that part of your strategy? And what are your plans when it comes to your activity? Do you want to stay active, get some more fights, and then go pro, or do you have some different plans? What are you thinking when it comes to your activity?
So, obviously, due to my age, I like to stay active right now because I
Yeah.
feel like if I lean off and I don't train for a little bit, then there's a possibility of me getting back into shape, getting hurt again. It's happened to me in the past. So, I like to stay in the gym. It keeps my body loose. It keeps me strong. And mentally, I feel great, man. I feel like as soon as I'm out of the gym, I feel like I don't know what to do with myself. I'm a very hyper person, but in relations to what do I want to keep doing? I just want to keep winning, man. If I can keep winning and fighting and doing whatever, like this tomorrow, I actually have a submission match. So I'm just staying active in
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu, MMA, wrestling, whatever.
Right.
I just want to stay competitive.
Right, for sure. And when you look at the challenge in front of you in Isaiah Long's, where do you feel like you have advantages over him? Would it be the grappling? Would it maybe be the striking? Where do you feel this matchup? And where do you feel like you have some advantages?
I mean, everybody says I'm a good grappler, but it's an MMA fight. He can hit me in the head. I might lose my sights, and he might take me down. I'm just prepared to be ready for anywhere. That's what I always think for every fight.
Mhm.
It's MMA. He can kick my legs out. He can, it doesn't matter. I just got to be prepared for whatever he brings.
Right. And have you seen maybe any footage from him? Have you seen any training footage? Have you seen any of his ground game? Do you feel like you're very confident? Because your last fight was a amazing technical matchup. I mean, just the skill level that was shown just in the ground game alone was just fantastic to me. I mean, just being a fan watching. So have you seen anything from Longs that makes you kind of almost excited to go out and test your grappling game, or do you just feel confident that you're just levels above him?
No, no, I like I said, I walk in every fight like it's I'm fighting for my life. So
Yeah.
this kid's obviously, he's gonna come out here and he's gonna do his best as possible. He's gonna try to take this belt away from me. And honestly, I'm gonna try to defend, but I'm trying to get a new belt for myself. I'd like to get a second. But going back to watching his stuff, I've watched like a kickboxing match of his. He's very slick.
Hmm.
He looks like he moves in and out. Honestly, I took it because he looks like a striker. And I
Hmm.
still want to improve my strike. And I feel like if I can get myself to knock down a striker, I'll be happy, man. So I'm always trying to take fights that obviously my last fight, Damien was a very big kid, kicker,
Hmm.
distance fighter, and like I said, I'm trying to develop into an actual MMA fighter.
Yeah. Do you almost have a bucket list for your amateur career? Almost, because you just mentioned improving your striking and knocking down a striker. So, do you have almost a bucket list of things you want to accomplish before you wrap up your amateur career? Like, do you just want to keep, or do you just want to keep improving as a fighter, just all around, just work on the striking and just improve on it, as you compete?
Just improving.
Hmm.
You're learning so much when you're in the ring too about yourself, mentally, and physically too. You start to break down. But like I said, I'm trying to become a complete MMA fighter. I'm trying to understand what that feels like, and it takes a lot. It takes, I think, just being in that cage and just doing the rounds and getting into tough fights. Situations where I see a lot of like fighters taking guys that are they know they could beat him at a level, but like I said, this is a striking game. I want to beat a striker, and
Right.
like in his own game, I guess.
Right. Right. Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of a good um, segue into my next question, which is about growth. So, in these past few matchups, how do you feel like you've grown, or what do you feel about your growth as a fighter? Just in the past few matchups, just in these past two bouts, maybe, where do you see the growth you've been put to the test when it comes to grappling, the striking, but you've come out the other end with your hand raised. So how have you grown in these past few matchups?
It's amazing, man. Like I said, when I first started doing these fights, I was so nervous, and I still get
Yeah,
nervous, but you get more calm in the cage, and I'm getting a lot calmer, and like I'm sitting on my punches a little bit more. I'm learning distance, and you start reading the other opponent, opposed to just being chaos and just two people just going at it. So that's, I guess that's my growth, is a slowing down, being calm and collected in these crazy moments.
right. And when it comes to mixed martial arts, how do you feel about combat zone? Do you have plans to maybe fight outside of combat zone, or do you like combat zone? Do you like the competition there, or have you seen some other fights that you might want to pick outside of the promotion, or are you content where you are in combat zone and just want to keep racking up the wins there?
Yeah, like I'm focused on this fight, so I'm focused on combat zone. But like
Yeah,
whatever, man. After this
right.
fight, then we'll see whatever challenge lays ahead. I obviously want a challenge, but I like combat zone. I'm from the Drake and Mass area, so it's
Yep.
relatively close, and I like being close. But I do like being away and traveling and doing that hotel experience. Like I said, I grew up wrestling, so going to tournaments and
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
It was
Right.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to talk more about, your journey as a fighter. So where did you get your start in fighting? When did this path and where did this path and journey kind of start and open up for you? And what martial art did you build your foundation on? Would it be the wrestling that you started with?
Yep, I started
Okay.
wrestling when I was probably like 15 years old. I got into my first club was Doughboys, which is
Yep.
it's out of Lowell. It's very
Hmm.
good, New England program. And then after that, I always liked like MMA and stuff, but I just kind of, I had this mentality where I just wanted to be a good wrestler in college. I wanted to go Division 1, didn't work out, but I stayed loyal to the game of wrestling. And then after that, I kind of got a little bit fat when I became a police officer, like 210s, not working out. And I just wanted to get back into cardio, and I started doing jujitsu. And then I kind of was intrigued by like, kickboxing. I wanted to learn how to properly kick. So I go to CrossFit Tango Academy learning how to do kickboxing, and they kind of tricked me into fighting MMA.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm familiar with Doughboys.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So we talked about your activity and where you are now. What has been your biggest motivator for being this active at your age? What's been pushing you to stay this active? Is it just kind of this feeling that you just want to get as much done in a short span of time as
Mhm.
possible, or is it just making up for lost time? What's the thinking behind being just so active as you are?
Honestly, it's just who I am. I think my father raised me to go be a go getter, and
Hmm.
we don't lay around. We like to go out there and work for hours. But my motivator is obviously my son Jaden, who's 7 years old, and he's in the gym every day with me.
Hmm.
Kind of, and I see him trying to mimicking all these moves that I'm learning. So it's awesome, man. And my wife just recently got into jujitsu. But I see people around me like James Johnson, who's also another kickboxer out of our gym, 41 years old. We're just kind of like, we have our family together, and we're just kind of moving in the same movement. Even with the younger kids, it's awesome seeing them develop. And it's just a good, I love my gym because it's more of like a family,
Right,
I, I,
right.
I feel like I'm always going to be a part of their journeys.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a good point. You just brought up working with the youth. Do you personally coach the youth? Some youth classes or maybe just some youth peers. Do you work with the youth at all?
Not really. I mean,
Okay.
because I'm so focused on, like, I
Right.
have work. I just get out of work. I got to take
Right.
Jaden to practice. But we have some awesome coaches, man. Like
Hmm.
Tyree Durham does jujitsu. Walter is obviously with the kids. We have another coach named Julian. We have a great team, man.
Yeah. Would you ever consider coaching the youth? Maybe when it's all wrapped up, said and done, would you want to? Is that something you'd want to do? Just coach the youth and just kind of spread your love for the game down to them?
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm
Oh,
bringing
hell
that
yeah.
chaos. We're
Yeah.
not drinking water during practice, so none of this
Right.
like soft stuff. I don't think they want me to coach because I'm a little crazy. When in that practice room, we're working. We're not
Right.
talking.
Right. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hell yeah. And I wanted to know. So when it comes to the youth, you have a you have a big grappling and wrestling game. You got your start in wrestling. Um, what would wrestling be the go-to, giving advice to maybe younger fighters or younger kids who want to end up competing one day? Would you encourage the wrestling for them to start with wrestling? Would you kind of try to hammer that into their heads as soon as possible? Do you think it's almost, you see the dominance now with
Yeah, yeah,
wrestlers and
100%, man.
yeah.
Yeah, it's such a strong game plan, to
Mhm.
go out there and take your opponent down and break his soul.
Mhm.
And then hey, we get up and we'll strike. But I think one of the best sports is obviously is I'm up in the air because I love like Muay Thai. I think those guys are so freaking tough, especially when
Right.
you get to the pro level of like kicks and elbows. But I think judo and sambo, man,
Mm,
those
yeah.
guys, cause you take somebody down, you're ripping that submission. You're trying to make him tap, and I feel like that's such a ground. But yeah, Russ, any form of grappling, taking that person down and just staying on top and smothering them, that's key, man.
Right.
You just have to have that intensity. I feel, and if you
Right.
do, yeah.
Do you have some names like maybe in the professional at the professional level that like you kind of strive to be like, what are some fighters that you look at, you see the wrestling game and you say that's what I need to be doing.
Like Khabib, man.
Khabib, yeah,
I love
right.
everything about his style. He was able to go with like strikers and just find his game plan
Yeah,
and implement it. I like Marab. His gas tank's awesome,
right.
and I love that he wants to go against everybody too.
Right.
It's like, whatever style you have, bro. Like him and Sandhagen, it's gonna be an awesome fight tonight. I like to see that because
Right. Yeah.
he's a stud too. But Marab's just a tough dude. And I feel like you can't teach that.
Right.
It's in the soul, it's in your heart, and he's fighting for his name.
Mhm.
Which
Definitely, yeah. 100%. So what is your ultimate goal with your career? Where do you want to take your competitive career, and where do you want to end up with just your martial arts career overall? Would it be maybe, owning your own academy, gym, training people out of there? And when it comes to the competitive side, what are your, like, if you had a crystal ball you could look into, kind of everything goes perfect, what would your career look like?
well, I'm gonna win November 1st. I'm gonna
Hell
defend
yeah.
this title, and then after that, I like to go pro. I
Hmm.
like to start training how to be a professional, do a professional fight, win that fight as well. Get a couple fights in until I'm too old, and then honestly, I'm just gonna focus on my son, and
Hmm.
that's it. Everything that I've learned from this game, I'm gonna pass down to him and try to help these young guys at KTA and develop.
Hmm.
I gotta help my wife too. She's always complaining that I'm not helping her with her jiu-jitsu. So
Hell yeah. Well,
yeah.
yeah, that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me, and good luck November 1st. Check out Jon Rivera. I'll leave him in the link in the description below. Show him some love, show him some support, and I will catch you guys in the next episode.
Thanks,
Bye.
brother. I appreciate it, man.